In this video, we are talking all about the Little Mermaid trailer. We're going to talk about Epic Universe's IP mix. And we're also going to talk about Daddy Josh at the Oscars. What's going on with that? We're going to break it down, talk about it, analyze it up next on OG55. Welcome aboard to another episode of OG55. In this video, we have a lot to discuss. We're talking Epic Universe IP mix. We're talking The Little Mermaid. We're talking Daddy Josh, all of it. But before we do that, I want to introduce my fantastic producer, Mr. VashSky. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, I'm happy to be back. It feels like we've just been so distant for so long. We haven't had shows every single day.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's great to get back into this. No, it's fine. It's great to get back into the saddle. No, these stories I think were important to cover. Important to because the news cycle nowadays. There's going to be 10 different stories tomorrow. So
right.
To bring attention to some of these stories, especially as they emanate from the Oscars themselves. Pretty timely. Definitely should do it. So I am great. Great to be back. Great to be here. If you guys want to follow me, you can go to right down there at VashSky. Just go ahead, type that in, and it should pop up for, as Christine Waysons McCarthy would say, for all the
robust
discussion right there. And if you want to see me, well, it's going to be on the channel you're watching right now at Orange Code 55, where my show exists, freshly squeezed. Your source for juice, news, and info, squeezed fresh, right from the Grove.
There we go. All right, let's start off with The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid trailer, more specifically, which premiered yesterday. Very interesting stuff. A lot of people have thoughts on this one.
Yes, they do. Now, we can't play this at all, or else we will get completely we'll be banned off YouTube. I mean, it's not something you can do. However, I want to bring your attention to something because this did debut actually during the Oscars, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But I guess if we're going under the sea, I guess we should go under the sea. There you go, right there, right? Now, unfortunately, when it comes to the ratio on this thing, it's a little underwater right there. It's not looking too good, and that's actually consistent from the debut of Little Mermaid's original trailer back 6 months ago, and that was ratio quite hard as well, as you can probably see. But we wanted to kind of break down this trailer a little bit and kind of provide maybe some insight into why people are upset. I understand there's an outstanding controversy with the whole thing. However, outside of those issues of appearance, the issue of appearance with the effects are coming to light here, and people are not happy with what they see. Is that about the some of it, OG?
Well, yeah, I've seen positive though. I've seen positive about this, but yeah, it's been a mix. Here's the thing with this movie, and it kind of annoys me a little bit, is because it's become a culture war thing, and I'm kind of bored of the culture war. You got all the lefties saying this movie is going to be the best thing ever because of representation. You got all the conservatives saying it's the worst thing ever because woke. I'm like, come on. I just want to, is it going to be good or bad? I'm so sick of the culture war, but,
I get it.
You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of burnt on it, but the trailer itself, right? The trailer itself, hey, is it going to get me into the theater? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was not impressed. But was it extraordinarily bad at the same time? Is this trailer any worse than what we've seen with the Lion King live action or the Aladdin trailer or any of these other live action remakes? No, this is pretty much standard, par for the course, kind of live action remake, very much not needed kind of thing. Even down to the sidekicks that are so realistic, they lose all their charm and character. It reminds me very much of the Lion King live action. I don't know if you can. Are you able to pull up the Lion King trailer, though? I'm very curious if that one got as ratioed, because I do remember that one being pretty controversial, not for the same reasons, but
Let's see.
People didn't like the way those characters look. I'm wondering if it got the same heat. I'm just kind of curious.
It's fine. Let me see if I can find the original one. Okay.
Yeah.
Trailer.
Yeah, the Sebastian I am not a fan of. And here's the
Okay,
thing while he's looking this
so
up.
74 million views for the original Lion King trailer. Hopefully it doesn't automatically play. Oh, I have to actually get it in here. So let's see. So, Sebastian, go ahead. You step
This is
aside
the
for a
issue. I
second.
mean, look, the character design in a lot of these live action films, I don't know why they feel the need to go so ultra realistic where they lose all the charm and personality. Yeah, see, this one kind of got.
No,
What?
it's a positive ratio.
Is that positive?
Ratio. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was 77. All right. I thought it was 77.
No. 779,000 upvotes, 45,000 downvotes. And I believe that was at a time when you could actually see the dislike bar.
You can see it.
Now
Yeah.
you have to get an extension to do that. But yeah,
this one got
This one didn't do so well. Here, I'll show you the statistics here. Yeah, 90 up, 408 down. So it's a lot, especially when you can't actually see it. But yeah, it's look. Here's the thing. I do agree with you. You know, during the debut of or as we've seen with past animation into live action works before, the debut of these trailers are definitely hit and miss. I remember you talking about Aladdin, for example, right? When that actually premiered, I mean, a lot of people made a lot of jokes about the genie and the effects that were surrounding his appearance and so forth. And I remember all that kind of stuff. But when people actually saw the film, it was like, oh, this ain't so bad. And it was so good that Disney was actually in the works to do a sequel up until he went on stage on a prior Oscars night and did what he did to Chris Rock. But no, nothing more needs to be mentioned about that. It's very ironic. But I think with this, and here's the thing, right? You go to take Will Smith, right? Replacing Robin Williams.
Right.
Nobody really had an issue. Not nearly as big, I would say, as what we find here with the Little Mermaid. Because I think, you know, a lot of people don't really think about the identity when it came to Genie as much as they do with Ariel.
I think the issue though with Will Smith wasn't so much. Yeah, it wasn't his race. It was more about like his ability to do that. Like that. The thing that Robin Williams brought a spontaneity to the character.
Sure.
That really made that character like it's almost like hard to imagine anyone else doing that because Robin Williams has very much a style. And I think people were concerned that Will Smith wouldn't be able to like really pull that off, but it was more about the execution of the jokes and how he presented himself, not so much, oh, he's a black man and Robin Williams was a white man. It wasn't a superficial thing.
Correct. It wasn't as superficial at all. And in this case, I think the superficiality of it definitely rears its, you want to say ugly head, whatever, in this one. Because it's just, we've associated Ariel with a certain appearance for so long and a certain identity for so long. And I think that's obviously creating quite a stir. And that is unfortunate that has happened because Halle Bailey, I mean, we've seen her now in several appearances, one of which being The Way of Water, Avatar, and she's been phenomenal in every single thing I've seen her in, and she has a fantastic voice as featured in this trailer. Actually, she really is phenomenal.
I'm a huge fan of hers. I think she's a really talented young lady. Absolutely.
And it's just unfortunate that she's been kind of roped into this, so to speak, and has become almost a pseudo shield for this movie in some publications. But just even beside that, though, it's really unfortunate that the effects and so forth that are going to be take center stage in this movie aren't necessarily up to her talent level, and don't really necessarily give her the live up to, I think, the expectations of this film.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I've said it before, and I'm still very torn on how this movie is going to do. I don't put too much weight into the like dislike thing, just because I think a lot of that is sort of like online activism. To be quite honest, it's a bunch of people going, we don't like this because of said reasons, so we're all going to downvote it. I don't think the normies are going in there going, oh man, this sucks. I'm going to dislike it. It's all the people that are so active in, so I don't really take that to heart. Plus, as a content creator, I could tell you right now, I've been ratioed. I'll tell you right now, complete honesty right now. My Super Nintendo World video that I made criticizing the tech rehearsal got ratioed. You can't see the likes or dislikes, but believe me, I got ratioed.
We can look it up right now if you want to. No, joking.
We can if you want. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Oh, okay. All
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I meant that's a joke. I'm gonna get back to this image, by the way, because I think this is also a problem. But let's see here.
Yeah, go to OG55.
Remember the title of the video?
It was I think it was like Super Nintendo Bad Shape, I believe. Bad Shape, something like that. Probably come up. Oh yeah, that one right there.
There you go, right there.
First one on the list. Okay, so pause it. Oh, maybe it wasn't that one. Oh, you know what? It was a sightline one, I think. Try the sightline.
Okay, I think it was a sightline one.
Oh, okay, I did pretty good on that one. Okay. Let's try the sightlines.
Now people are gonna give us dislikes just to give us dislikes. Right? Now it's gonna be hilarious.
Let's see. Is this the one? No. Oh, okay. Now
have you been deleting OG? Have you been deleting people's No, we don't delete anybody.
That's weird. I don't know. Okay, well, never mind. Well, I was trying to make a point, but I forgot which video it was. But anyway, long story short, I got ratioed on one of these Universal videos. I don't remember which one it was, but it was one of my highest viewed videos. That I did like within that period. And it was actually one of the higher performing videos otherwise, like in terms of like how many subscribers were gained based on that video. It was a lot higher than a lot of the other videos that weren't as ratio.
Oh, cool. And controversy.
So there's different,
Controversy gets the clicks, it gets the attention. Ain't no question about that. And when people are passionate about it, whether it's good or bad, sometimes that amounts to a good thing. But I think the whole fan baiting thing, I think people are starting to see through it. And I think it's really starting to affect the box office performance of this. And so when you hear people that are like, ooh, not necessarily thrilled with what they see, I think that is reverberatory. I think the small clique, let's say, of the people who were actively against this or so forth, right, that Hollywood kind of looked down on, I think that's starting to kind of become a little bit more mainstream, and their effects are starting to let's say ripple more than these big Hollywood types would maybe let on. But even outside of that, though, I mean, we've talked about how effects before, featuring the Marvel films, for example, how there's been a decline here, and just looking at this, man, there is something here. There it's not good. I believe from again, I know somebody who's in this kind of field, right? And it looks like they went with a digital tail, right? So lower half, all digital hair, right? And they kind of modeled on top of there and maybe did some correction. It just looks not good.
It's too CGI heavy. Yeah, it's way too CGI, and it's like,
but it's transparently CGI heavy. That's the problem.
Exactly, it's transparently CGI. It's not very good CGI. It's. I think Christian Harloff said today in his review of the trailer, it looks very volumey, right? It looks very much like maybe this was like they had like 2 more steps in the CGI process that they didn't quite finish yet. It's kind of like the look that it's giving off.
Right.
It's not great. It's not great. And you're comparing this to a movie that The Little Mermaid, people don't understand how important this animated film was. It saved the Walt Disney Company. Okay. Absolutely. It saved animation, which in turn saved Disney. Okay. Yes. And this movie was brilliant with Howard Ashman, and it was such a masterpiece, not just in animation, but just in cinema in general, I think. And to go and follow that up.
Also, too, the VHS sales I mean, that started the whole vault thing and buying VHSs of these movies when they actually came out, and it spurred a whole new wave of animation. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it did. It was a huge thing. And now you're going into this, you're trying to fall. And this is the problem that a lot of these live action movies have, is that the shoes they're trying to fill. Beauty and the Beast was the same thing. It was like, this is a masterpiece in Disney animation. And you're going to follow that up. The Lion King, again, another masterpiece. You're going to follow that up. It's like they're setting themselves up. Now, here's the thing. A lot of those movies that I mentioned did very well in the box office, right? So
Sure.
you brought up a great point, though, before we went live, that, okay, those movies did well, but now we live in a new world. Now we live in the post-Pandy world where the theaters aren't necessarily doing what they used to do. And not just with Disney, everything. The whole industry has really changed. True. So can these movies perform? Can this movie do $1 billion like The Lion King did or like Beauty and the Beast did? I'm not so sure. Now, I'm not willing to, I know a lot of people are writing this off like it's already going to be a flop. I'm not there with that opinion. I don't necessarily think that this is a guaranteed flop, but it's certainly not. I'm certainly not as confident in it like Bob Iger of it being an automatic hit either. I'm very much on the fence with how this movie is going to do. I do not know how the normies are going to react. We know how the activists are. The left, the right, we know their opinions. The normies, the families, are they going to see it? I guess we'll find out.
Remember what Bob Iger said, folks, at the Morgan Stanley conference. Remember, he's talking to investors, talking to bigwigs here. He says, Disney is very strong. It's the most powerful brand in certainly family entertainment. And we have a film coming up, Little Mermaid and live action. I think when you see it, it will remind you of just how strong this brand is.
It's crazy. And by the way,
that's a lot to put on this.
Oh, it's a huge amount to put on this. It was really, really, and I said before, it was a mistake for him to do that. He should have went, and you said it too in that video from yesterday, he should have went backwards and picked a movie that he knew was a success, an objective success, not something in the future that could possibly fail. This is actually that video. It was the bad shape one. If you can see on the right, it says my likes were only 65%. On this particular video. My channel average is 96. So I don't know if the counter was off on that other one or not, but I got pretty ratio. That's a pretty low average for me. But it also garnered 6 new subscribers, which for me personally that's rare. I mean, most videos get 0 subs or maybe 1 or 2. 6 is pretty high. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of hard to say, and the reason I bring that up with this trailer is because the dislikes, it doesn't look good, but we don't know how, if that's going to necessarily translate in the box office, how that's going to translate. Is there going to be a lot of people going in here hate watching? Is it going to be a curiosity factor? Is there going to be, what's going to transpire when this movie actually gets released? That's yet to be seen. And that's why I'm really unsure.
I could see that. I could see it. I mean, it's there's a lot of unknowns going into this, post-Pandy, but also too, just with interest and intrigue and so forth. Disney's pushing a little bit hard after those comments were made by Bob Iger. Well, what film are they touting at the Oscars with Melissa McCarthy and Halle Bailey up on stage, no less, and promoting that film amongst an award show, which is honoring the films that have come out, let's say, and it's Hollywood glam having each other and so forth, and you have the company pitching its own product on stage. Ooh, I don't know if I would have done that, but and some people, they had some reservations, let's say. Actually, I'll show you a little bit of that here. The Oscars were almost perfect, except for the Little Mermaid moment. The low point of Sunday's ceremony had nothing to do with any of the winners. Yeah, they didn't take necessarily kindly to this, but we will get back to that in a moment. Look, and when you see like this image here, for example, right? Why is it so dark? Shouldn't this be like super vibrant and colorful? And we see the trailer itself is very dark. We've seen the people have kind of the first poster that was released, for example, got criticized for being dark and gloomy and so forth.
That poster was so bad. That poster was so bad.
Man, And then they come out with another poster, and it's like bright, and it's it's got all the characters on it and so forth.
Much
It's like,
better.
what? It just seems like I think their instincts and the direction that they're going with this, it might need to work on it just a tad before we're actually ready for prime time. This should be a fanciful and a fantasy story. It's close to a fantasy epic in that way. So these things should be bright. These things should be luminous and so forth. You can see that they were going for that in various scenes, as it relates to like Ursula, for example, even in her dark sequences. Let's see if I can. Yeah, you have you have some color. You have some traces of light there with her tentacles and so forth. They're trying to imbue some of that. Let it out a little bit. You don't have to darken the image so much. A lot of people had the same reaction to the Peter Pan trailer, interestingly enough.
Yeah, they did. I like the concept they're going with her tentacles kind of being bioluminescent. I think that's kind of dope. But you can barely see poor Hailey Bailey. You can barely see her. I mean, it's such a dark image. You only see the tentacles. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the CGI work in this one is real hit and miss. I see where they were trying to go with it. I understand it. See, that's a gorgeous shot. I think beautiful. I mean, some of these are really great, but then you get into some of these other shots and it looks like, yikes.
It does not. It doesn't look great. And I think the CGI thing, I don't know. I mean, they got to work on some of these effects because you can kind of tell like it's on a green screen, and that is not good. Especially as we have so many technologies available to us. Obviously, OG made a good point with The Way of Water, for example, and how that is a much more expensive film, and I will definitely say that is a much more expensive film. But
James Cameron's a perfection. He's not going to settle for anything less,
True. But if you have James Cameron in the building, get him over. Consult a little bit. Come on. Yeah. I mean, we gotta work on this a little bit because that's a standard being set by the same studio.
Yes, and even if you can't afford the James Cameron standard, can we at least do the Aquaman standard?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like this. I'm sorry. This does not look good. This looks very like
this is tough.
I've seen
rough.
Look, as a content creator, I use Fiverr.com all the time. Okay. Mm-hmm. I've seen amateur artists on Fiverr that produce work that looks more realistic than this. And I'm not even shitting you. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
I've seen stuff that looks more realistic than this on Fiverr. Yeah. That's not okay. There's no excuse for that, Disney, know? And this is a movie, like I said, The Little Mermaid, which is, in my opinion, one of those films that changed Disney forever. Snow White was the first animated film, right? You have Little Mermaid, which arguably, it saved the company. Not arguably, it did. It saved the company. And it was the kickoff to the entire Renaissance era, which is a huge part of the Walt Disney Company. That spawned all kinds of stuff. The growth that we saw at Walt Disney World, all of that started with this movie basically being a success. Everything prior to Little Mermaid with Disney was really kind of floundering. See what I did there?
There you go.
It was really kind of floundering. Mermaid hit and they were off to the races. This movie was extremely important to the Walt Disney Company. And then to have it represented like this, it just doesn't look good. And again, I want it to be a success. I love Halle Bailey. I think she's a fantastic young lady. I think she's extremely talented. You said it pre-show, and I agree with you, Dre. I think she deserves better. I really, really do. I think she deserves better than what we're seeing here. And
I think so.
I'm not saying this is like the whole movie sucks. I'm not saying everything looks terrible. It doesn't. It looks pretty much kind of like what we saw before with a lot of these other live action movies, but those weren't great either.
This scene looks pretty good.
This looks pretty good. Yeah.
This looks pretty good. And wouldn't it have been great to have a great juxtaposition between the dark and dreary world of the stormy, gloomy world of the humans and have that juxtaposed against the, very colorful under the sea sequences? That would have been great, but instead they keep the same color grading throughout the whole piece. It's like, come on, what? Look, besides
really being made.
Besides the weird choices, I think so you have Halle Bailey, who is of color. Triton's not. And then I think Scuttle is gender swapped or whatever. Like outside of those things, okay, those are kind of, it's like whatever, right? It's don't really care. Again, I think it's all going to go to Halle Bailey's performance. And look, if she's going to have to, swim in a CG environment and interact with CG characters, this could be a wonderful exhibit for her range of as an actress and her overall performance and craft. But there just seems to be some really strange decisions as made by director Rob Marshall in this instance, who did what is it, Mary Poppins 2, for example.
He did. And I love that movie. I got to be honest. I know a lot of Disney fans are like, oh my gosh, that's not really, but I actually really enjoyed that movie. I've said it many times. I thought it was fantastic. If this movie is anything like that one, then I'll probably like it, but I don't think it will be. I really, really don't. This one doesn't have that. I was excited for Mary Poppins Returns, even from the trailers and everything leading up to it. I'm not excited really for this one.
He also did Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, Into the Woods.
Oh, that was a rough one. I'm a musical guy. I couldn't even get through that. There was way too much singing in Into the Woods. The whole thing was singing. There was no dialogue. It was weird.
It's very. I'm just saying this director's kind of up down. We've seen him make weird decisions in the past, and it looks like he was giving carte blanche to do those things again. I don't know. We'll see. And we know that this film is going to have problems in China. I'm just saying. Nobody wants to talk about that. I get it, but that's just the economic reality of the market when it comes to these kind of films over there. So,
and China. That's why Disney changed the Black Panther poster for the marketing over there in China, right? And it's like, and I brought that up many times in the past. Like, people say, Disney's all about the ideology. Well, they dropped the ideology pretty quick when it comes to marketing in China, though. So that goes to show you
they do, and that's why that's a very kind of big confrontational piece between the industry in that country and so forth. And it's a big thing. But
that's gonna be rough out there.
It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be a rough road ahead of it. Hey, we obviously want the company to do well, but recently Quantum Mania is now tracking to be lower than Puss in Boots, at the box office. Which, by the way, Comcast only threw in there as like a last minute, we could put this on streaming only, but let's see if we can get some revenue from it. Now it's turned into a phenomenon, which could usher in a 5th Shrek movie. I mean, it's crazy, and that overtook a $200 million MCU film. I mean, it's like we need hits. And I don't know if I would have hitched my wagon to the Little Mermaid horse like Bob Iger has asserted. Hey, maybe he's seeing that it's tracking really well. We will see.
Yeah, I'm sure he's privy to numbers that we are not privy to, absolutely. But you don't know till you know. And that's my thing. It's like you can have all the numbers in the world internally and all the focus groups and all the data. Chapek knows all about the data.
I remember when Mars Needs Moms and John Carter of Mars and Tron Legacy and what is it? Tonto. You know what I'm talking about? Johnny Depp. Lone Ranger. Got it. Okay. I remember when all those were like, there's going to be hits. There's going to be, massive, awesome things. And then, and that's all from Iger, by the way. All those films I just mentioned. Just saying. I don't know. I hopefully it does well. But I just think the audience's hunger for these live action adaptations is dwindling. And I think they need to really have a reason for people to come back. We'll see if this can actually generate that.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm in a weird place with this movie because it's like, okay, there's a part of me that wants it to do well because I'm a fan of Halle Bailey's.
Sure.
And then there's a part of me that wants it to flop because I'm a big fan of the original movie and I feel like this doesn't do it justice, right? And I'm not a big fan of the live action remakes in general. It's not just this one. Just in general, I think they're very much unnecessary. So I kind of want Disney to move on from them. Well, they're not going to move on from them if this movie makes $1 billion. So I'm really torn on it. And obviously I want Disney to do well. I don't want them to have 2, 3, flops in a row. Obviously, both of us, we care deeply about the Walt Disney Company, and they're in a bad spot right now. We don't want one more thing. So I'm like, oh, I'm really torn on this movie, but it's like, I don't know.
I feel terribly for Halle Bailey because I mean the weight on her shoulders. I mean, it was already like, okay, you're going to be taking up the mantle of Jodie Benson's Ariel. Like that's a big task. You're going to be leading a movie. You're going to be the driver for it, right? People, if they don't love you, they're not going to love the movie. So you have to kind of, hold this thing up. But now it's like, okay, now it's, all live action adaptations are kind of on you. Now it's, the quality of the brand apparently from Iger. I mean, it's like, it's
pressure.
Man,
poor kid.
And the controversy and everything like that. I just feel so bad for her. She does not deserve this. She's actually a wonderful performer. And it's just so unfortunate that it's all kind of happened like this. But
yeah. And that's a big part of why I wanted to do well, because it's like she's going through it. It'd be nice to just have it do well and just have no drama.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know. We'll see. And it's terrible. It's a really, when did this movie come out? In May? I thought it was like May.
I have it right here. Release date May 26, 2023 in the United States. So
okay, so I think it's by like Memorial Day-ish, probably weekend. Mm-hmm. And we'll see. We'll see how it does.
I think we did a video where the competition's pretty fierce around this time too. So.
Oh no. I don't know. Yeah.
We'll see. Hey, maybe there's hey, there could be a desire. Hey, okay, well, we want to take the whole family to a live action film, and we want to go back to theaters. We want to have a reason to go back. Little Mermaid could provide that. We'll see, but
it could. We'll see.
Speaking of,
yes, go ahead. No, segue for us.
Oh well, speaking of where this trailer actually debuted, the Oscars were yesterday. I don't know if anybody heard or anybody saw. Declining ratings every day. That's a whole other story. But, well, Halle Bailey and Melissa McCarthy weren't the only ones in attendance that night. It turns out that a certain CEO from a certain media company was also there that night. I'll play this for you. It's a little funny. If this gets copyright claimed, well, I'll explain it afterwards. So here we go.
Guys, we're very excited. Sorry, we're just chatting with our boss, Bob Iger, and Willow Meg. We're so happy you guys are here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for stopping by and talking with us.
Nice to see you guys.
You guys look wonderful. You both look wonderful. Oh, your name was Michelle. Rashumba was talking.
We're your super fans, as you know.
Right. You were your super fans. That's the truth.
By the way, the gal in the red dress to the left. Could we please, have a little bit of a production mentality where we get out of frame and let, allow everybody to be seen in the shot? Oh, It drives me nuts. They go to the second camera, but it's just, it just, sorry.
All the guy has to do is, all the guy has to do is step like to the right, like maybe 3-4 steps. He can actually see Willow Bay,
right.
And he sits right behind her.
Willow is right behind her, and all you see the back of her head. Oh God, it just
You're super fans.
Now. Go on the right. She knows what's going on here.
Right. You were your super fans. That's the truth. You guys look wonderful. Ro was saying that the theme this season is this lighter colors.
And you seem to be on trend, my lady.
You know why? My husband happens to be a white guy.
How do you mean
Dresses.
He's like, what the? Go ahead.
Willow's got jokes. I didn't know Willow had jokes. She's funny.
Yeah, but you can see. That's a good pause. You can see Iger's like, what?
I got it. Yeah, well, wonderful. You guys look fabulous.
And you were just on trend.
On mark here, guys. Well, wonderful.
Are you having a great time?
We are, and it's so much fun to be on the carpet, which we haven't been. We've been up top all these years.
The balcony.
So here we are, the first time.
The mix of it.
Yeah. Here I haven't seen you guys
real quick.
It's nice.
Sure.
This interview is an absolute mess.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
You have both people interviewing them at the same time, like literally at the same time, talking over each other. I'm like, wait a minute, I can't hear anybody.
It's so cringe. We'll let it play. It's 15 seconds.
Well, we've been watching you, and you've all been doing a great job and getting all sorts of cool people to talk to.
Really.
If you get a chance to wear that when you do the weather tomorrow,
Why not?
And then we don't have
Let's
camera
go
on
through
that.
anyway. We are.
Wow.
So
What
yeah,
a
that's
mess.
about
Yeah.
I mean, it's live, I suppose, but
Yeah.
you would have thought, hey, gal, camera right here, get out of the way, allow the people in front of you to be seen. Whatever. But don't worry, not everything was as ill choreographed because, well, later on, guess who's sitting next to who?
All right.
This is where it's very, very, very interesting.
So we see Bob Iger and his wife, his lovely wife Willow. Okay,
Right.
cool. Now in the foreground, the lady in yellow is Dana Walden. That's kind of like been my my pick, so to speak, as to who. Well, not my pick necessarily, but my prediction as to who they're going to pick for the next CEO.
Correct.
She currently runs Disney Entertainment. I think President Joe Biden appointed her to some sort of like board. International board. I mean,
I should know this, but I don't. I forgot. It was some board. I'll look it up for you.
Yeah, but it's she's making all kinds of moves. I really think it's hers to lose. I think she's the top candidate right now to be the next CEO. And then to Bob Iger's, well, to our right and to Bob Iger's left is Alan Bergman, right?
Alan Bergman. That is correct.
Bergman.
And that's who's sitting next to Willow there. Before we get to the last person, of course, here you go. Dana Walden to serve on President Joe Biden's export council.
There it is. That elevates her. We never talked about this, but this move elevates her like crazy. Like not only is she running a massive segment of the Walt Disney Company, now she's on the president's export board or whatever.
Well, look at who's also on the board there. CEO, Qualcomm CEO, Citi CEO, Ford CFO, CVS Health CEO. You know, it's weird how she's sitting next to these very prominent members on here, and she's not a CEO or CFO. That's a very interesting tell, but she will advise Joe Biden on international trade. It looks like
she's not a CEO yet. I'm sticking to it. I bet you she's the choice. Yeah, look, anything can happen. She might fumble the bag. She might not. But I think right now it's hers to lose.
I would agree with you. Some people say she was there to run cover for something else. Look, it's very, very important for, I think, Bergman and Walden to be there because of their prominent position within within Disney right now, right? She is one of the 4 executives at these 3 tranches that are so important for Bob Iger's reorganizational structure. However, well, who's that guy all the way to the right there, sitting right next to Bergman? Well, I think I see that face, but I haven't seen him in this setting yet.
No. Now remember what we said. If they promote Daddy Josh, if they promote Josh D'Amaro to a studio role, right? He's definitely on the short list for CEO.
Correct.
Okay, now they didn't move him to the studio. Okay, he's still president of the parks, experiences, and products, yada yada yada.
Correct.
But the fact that he's at the Oscars, this is Bob Iger, in my opinion, and probably with the blessing of the new Succession board, right? This is their blessing to have D'Amaro at the Oscars, rubbing elbows with all the Hollywood studio types.
Oh yes,
to kind of see how he does in this environment. Remember, Bob Chapek really strong. Bob Chapek. He had a lot of he was not as bad as a lot of people said he was. Okay, there were some things about Chapek that he's a pretty smart businessman, but in terms of the smooths department, that was not one of his strong suits, and it got him in trouble with Hollywood, to say the least.
Oh God, yes.
Poor Chapes, but it got him in trouble. They're testing. They want to see how Daddy Josh does in this environment. He's on the short list, absolutely, and I'm really surprised too, to be quite honest with you, because Wall Street and Hollywood did not like the last Parks guy that was there, which is Bob Chapek. I understand DeMauro is his own man. Absolutely. I just think there's like a negative connotation amongst Wall Street circles and amongst Hollywood circles for a Parks person. It's very much a Mean Girls, you can't sit with us kind of energy. They don't come from the studio. I'm actually really surprised he's on this list, and it shocks me that he's here. But hey, he's a smoozer. He'll probably fit right in, and maybe they'll love him. So we'll see.
Doesn't shock me. I think he's really kind of while it is appropriate for Walden and Bergman to be there.
Yep.
Okay. DeMauro, that's like as you've eloquently pointed out, that's a very odd place for him to be. I think the people flanking Iger and Willow right now are the people that Iger is seeing who can actually lead this company. All three of them. I think I think he's looking and seeing who actually can mature in this role, who's a good fit for this role, and so forth. And that includes Daddy Josh right here. Now, I do believe Walden, it's hers to lose. I think. I think she's got everything that the kind of, let's say, modern Walt Disney Company is looking for, right? Entertainment experience. Obviously, she's been in the industry for so long. She has established rapport with talent and so forth. And she's a woman, so
be the first female Disney CEO,
and the Walt Disney Company wants that so badly. I mean, and this was going back 15 years, folks. I mean, I'm telling you, like this is going back a long time here. This would be top choice, but it's like, hey, well, Daddy Josh here, he's fan favorite. He's conducted himself well, by all metrics as according to Wall Street and so forth. Maybe he's the guy. Now, I do agree with you. Giving the reins to a Parks guy again without any entertainment experience would be a disaster. So why is he here? Hey, let's get you that talent and entertainment experience by attending these high-profile events, by schmoozing with the Hollywood elite, let's say, and let's see how you actually thrive in this role here. So they're there.
It's a huge sign.
It's a huge sign. The fact that, think about this. Look at how the camera is even framed to include all of them.
Right.
Think about where they're seating. This is all very, very choreographed, I think. And it's all the kind of send signals out there who really is going to be the next Disney CEO. Yes.
And Dana has no problem navigating these waters because this is her thing. She's a studio person. But to be fair to Josh, like we're hard on Josh, right? But I think to be fair to Josh, I think he will also navigate these waters very well. Like I said, he is a smoozer. And look, that's not necessarily a negative thing. You need that in this industry. You need that in this business to be a little bit of a smoozer. Like I said before, we saw how not being one got Chapek into trouble, big trouble. So I think Josh is going to make a lot of friends while he's here. He knows how to talk, very charismatic. He's young-ish, right? He's got a chance. He really, really does. So we'll see. We'll see how.
We'll see. But take note, guys. Okay, it's doubtful. Well, not entirely doubtful, but it's unlikely. Let's say that we see big moves like Tom Staggs switching roles with Jay Rasulo and seeing who thrives in that role. Right? What that was a big to do about that back when the actual switch happened and so forth. Right? And that was him saying who's going to thrive in this role, who's going to be the next CEO.
Right.
It's probably not going to be that this time around. It's probably going to be moves like this. Take note that I think this is the first sign where we're seeing Bob Iger say, it's yours to lose.
Well, and here's the thing. You're right. We're not going to see big moves where they're swapping positions like before, because now they can't afford to do that.
Sure.
The economic times and what Disney has to do right now, they can't afford 2 years. They can't afford to destabilize the Walt Disney Company to test some executive. So you're absolutely right, Dre. You're a nail on the fucking head as usual. Like they are going to test Daddy Josh through this means, throwing him into the Oscars, throwing him into maybe the Grammys or this, that, or the other, right? And having him kind of navigate those waters. And then, Iger and all the industry heads can kind of opine about, that Josh guy, he's pretty cool. He's pretty nice, and kind of get a feel for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's interesting.
And how he will be received if placed into the CEO position. Well, it starts right here. So, a fascinating thing to be sure. Now, OG.
Real quick though, but before we
go ahead.
pivot to our last and final topic, I do want to say this. For me personally, and everyone's different, everyone's mileage varies. Everyone has a line in the sand, a threshold, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, with Josh Giamaro, I've been very critical. It's been a lot of style with no substance. But I will say this: I'm going to give him a fair shake. If he actually delivers on this Disneyland, Pandora, Avatar thing, like what we think we're going to get, like Animal Kingdom level quality, and we get a really, really, really solid, impressive, ambitious e-ticket Avengers multiverse thing at DCA, my opinion starts to change. Now we're cooking with gas. Now we got 2 big additions to both of these parks. Okay, now I'm being swayed a little more. We got a little bit more substance here. But leading up to now, it hasn't been that impressive. It hasn't been impressive at all.
For me, I would like to see, obviously, those additions. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a big deal, right? I mean, we saw the warning signs with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Chapek, right? It's like,
Yeah.
It's like, this isn't quite as good as it needs to be. And that kind of came his whole career, actually. For me, I'd like to see how well he does actually faring the weather that we're going to see later on when it regards to the economy, maybe a slowdown and so forth. Can the parks actually maintain this pace? That's one thing to see. 2, how does he handle this cast member dispute? Because it's still going on, and it looks like they're going to be protesting. I believe on March 18th, if I'm not mistaken. Right? That's coming up here. How does he navigate those waters? How does he navigate WDI? It's in turmoil right now. A lot of people are low morale. Obviously, Bruce Vaughn, great sign coming back. What are the fruits of that? And then I think Splash Mountain. How does that actually play out? I think all of these things.
True.
That I'm going to want to watch from him specifically right there, outside of just big projects. So we will see how those are.
Yeah. Well, and even segueing into our next topic, how does he handle this? Now, we've talked about it ad nauseum about how, Disney, their response, Disney, their lack of response. Hey, look, this opens in less than 2 years. Right? I think it's 2025, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a pivotal moment, I think, for Florida. And Disney needs to look, if it's a huge hit, they have to do something, right? Now, I've been supportive of Disney kind of waiting and seeing because, and we're going to get into this, we're going to talk about this, but I've been real supportive of Disney waiting and seeing to see how Epic Universe actually does. I did a show. I was on WDW Pro's channel the other day talking about Epic Universe and if Disney is necessarily worried. I don't think they're worried at the moment because I don't think they're necessarily sold, including myself, on the idea that this is going to be an automatic home run, right? Yeah. This park will pack people in, but will it pack people in at the expense of the other 2 parks? That's the question. If this packs them in, but the studio park, the Universal Florida Studio Park, suffers and gets cannibalized because of this park, that's not necessarily a success, even though this one is packed. It's also about the revenue, the hotel stays. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but Daddy Josh's response to this is going to matter big time.
Huge. It's gonna be big. It will. I think it will test D'Amaro for sure in this role right here. How did Disney manage it at the time, and what their response was after? I think those are 2. It'll be 2 big things here. But you talk about the mix and so forth, and how that goes. We see 4 IPs prominently featured here: How to Train Your Dragon, Wizarding World, Super Nintendo World, and Universal Monsters. As we now know, I believe they're calling it Dark Universe, is what they're calling it here. I'll say this, okay?
Should we go real quick? Should we go land by land and kind of just go through each one and kind of do it that way, or you want to do general first?
We'll go land by land here.
Land by land. Okay.
General points out. I think the big thing for me is not just people, right? I think this park will get people. Where it comes from, big story. Whether it comes from Disney, whether it comes from Universal, that's to be determined. And I do think you're right. I think it has a better chance of coming from Universal, right? Dollars. Where do the dollars go first? That's going to be, I think, a bigger indicator. Because that, for Disney, it was not about the people. It was about, oh, they're spending a lot more there than they are here. So let's right this wrong here. That's the big reason why they responded the way they did, right? With big franchises that have real merchandising appeal. And that's partially why Consumer Products was merged with Parks and Resorts in order to facilitate that. So here, we have Super Nintendo World, which is going to have Donkey Kong, the Yoshi Ride, Mario Kart, Toad's Quick Service Cafe. Now, we've seen some of this ourselves, OG, but do you think Donkey Kong and Yoshi will help that in this land here?
Yeah, I do. I think Donkey Kong is actually one of the more interesting aspects of Nintendo World. Look, I really enjoyed Super Nintendo World quite a bit. I don't think it's the absolute mind-blowing game changer it was kind of promised to be. I gotta be honest with you. It does feel like another Toontown. I think Mario Kart is a very fun ride. I don't think it's necessarily even a ticket though. It's kind of a D+ ticket, which again, that's not, dude, I'm not shitting on it at all. The D+ ticket's fantastic. And I love the ride, but I didn't think that what the version of Nintendo World that we got is the game changer we were promised, to be quite 100% real, Yeah. I think with Donkey Kong though, with the promise of that coaster and jumping the track and all that, in conjunction with the Mario Land and the Yoshi as well, I think this is going to be a very successful land. I think this is going to be impressive. And Nintendo right now has, I was telling Pro on his show, Nintendo has really never been more popular than it is now. The Super Mario Brothers movie is on track to. I think they just said it was on track to make $100 million opening weekend. Very good. I think this land will be. I think families will like this land. Absolutely. I think this is honestly, I think this is the strongest part of this park, in my opinion. We'll get to the other ones, but I think this is
interesting. Yeah. I think I think this is the draw for this park, especially as it relates to families. I think this is really where it's at. When it comes to like, hey, we're going to book a vacation for, hey, what if you have young kids? I think this is what gets them there. But I think for young families, the other area that's that's very intriguing to me is the How to Train Your Dragon portion, because that's really geared towards even people younger in Super Nintendo World. And this has been an area where they've really suffered, the kids and below kind of thing. Super Nintendo World is one part of that strategy, but How to Train Your Dragon is the other. They have like an interactive boat ride where, the people on the boat, have like a spray war or spray off with the people on the shore and so forth. That could be kind of fun. There's like a number of flat rides. There's like a Dragon's Coaster. Think like Ninja almost, from what I understand, like a suspended coaster, but like a Mack Rides, like one step above Barnstormer or Gadget Go Coaster, for example, right? That's kind of where they're at there. And there's also going to be the Great Hall Restaurant with that amazing How to Train Your Dragon show. I think providing two areas for which kids can actually play and which kids can actually enjoy the activities as much as the adults, as they have traditionally done in Universal's parks in the past. I think this is a smart move here. But How to Train Your Dragon, it's not necessarily the obvious. You would have thought like a Minions land or something. Right. This is a very interesting choice on behalf of Universal, I think.
It's an interesting choice. I think it works better than Minions. Minions is one of those franchises. Yeah, for when you name your park Epic Universe, you're gonna want a franchise more like this. I don't think Epic when I think Minions. I think, and honestly, I think Universal has kind of gone to that Minions well a little too many times. I'm getting pretty burnt out. I know hey, look, there's an audience for it. I understand that. It just seems like they're really using it too much, in my opinion. I think this is a great IP for the park. it'll be interesting to see. This franchise, this trilogy was hailed as a fantastic trilogy. A lot of people love this trilogy. But it's weird because while people love the trilogy, I feel like the franchise itself has kind of fallen off in recent years. It's kind of a forgotten thing a little bit. So I'm kind of curious to see how that kind of pans out. I'm not really sure, but in terms of
it's supposed to be a live action show, right? There's supposed to be a live action movie that's going to be coming out soon.
Yes.
I will disagree with Pro a little bit. I don't think it necessarily hinges on that movie necessarily, this land anyway. I think it's really going to come down to execution. More than it is, let's say, people's association with it, like enthusiasm for it. Because people are going to go to Super Nintendo World, like I said. But I think they'll enjoy themselves here. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, though. Go ahead, OG. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. Yeah, it's all about execution. Let's see how this looks. I'm very curious about the roller coaster. You can't go too fast with that one because if it's for kids, you got to be careful. So we'll see. We'll see. Now the Dark Universe thing, and this is where I'm probably gonna become the bad guy.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers. I say that's the bad guy.
This is where I become the bad guy, I think, because a lot of people are excited about this, and I get that.
Okay.
But with Dark Universe, I think there's a lot of question marks with this land, and I made that case on Pro's channel. I'm going to kind of elaborate on what I'm trying to say here.
Sure.
There is a difference between recognizable and relevant, right?
Yeah.
So Popeye the Sailor Man, Felix the Cat are recognizable characters. You can ask anyone on the street, you can show them pictures of both of these characters, and everyone will tell you who those characters are.
I would actually be surprised if you could do that nowadays, but I see your point.
Okay.
I see your point.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're recognizable, right?
Well, sure.
People know who these characters are.
Yeah.
But
you could do the same thing with Frankenstein and Dracula and those kind of characters, right? You can show them pictures, they know.
And they know. And that's exactly my point with this is these are recognizable characters. Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Dracula. They're recognizable. But there's a difference between recognizable and a hot franchise, right?
Yes.
Is Felix the Cat moving merch? Is it a $1 billion box office character? Is Popeye doing anything? Is it selling anything? Is Frankenstein selling any merch? Moving any kind of merch? Is it making anything at the box office? It's not. They're recognizable, but they're not hot commodities right now. And here's the thing. Let's look at the past attempt or two in the theaters for these monsters. The last big one was with Tom Cruise. I mean, a huge Hollywood. This guy is hot, and he was even hot back then in 2017. The Mummy, the reboot, died a dog's death in the box office so bad it killed the entire Dark Universe cinematic universe. Universal just said, "No, we're not doing it." That's not good. You had The Invisible Man, which did well, but it only did well because the movie was only had a $7 million budget.
If I'm not mistaken, that wasn't the original intention for The Invisible Man either. Wasn't it supposed to be Johnny Depp?
Oh, maybe. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I believe it was, but go ahead.
Yeah, but it made a profit, but not many people had an interest in seeing it. It only made 70 million, like at the end of the day. So my thing here is that, and I'm not saying I just people like to make assumptions. Like I'm not saying it's automatically this land's going to be a flop because it does come down to execution at the end of the day. I do think that is a huge element of it. I just don't think, aside from the nerds in our theme park space, I don't think there's a huge hunger out there from the normies necessarily for monsters. Now, even Disney dipped their toe into the monsters with a recent MCU show. The 4 Night by Werewolf, whatever that was called.
Sure.
Yeah, I forgot the exact name of it, but you guys know the black and white kind of noir, kind of horror show that Marvel did recently. Got great reviews. Didn't get a lot of views though. Not a lot of people actually watch that. And again, I know that's not universal, but it's the same kind of Wolfman kind of genre that we're seeing here with the monster. So the product lately with monsters hasn't really resonated with normies. Another concern I have with this land is Halloween Horror Nights has been very, very successful for Universal. But now you're giving away a little bit of that for free all year. Now, I get it. The mazes are a big element of it and all that. That's going to be unique to Halloween Horror Nights. But when you're giving away an element of that same Halloween energy and vibe all year long, does that now cut into the Horror Nights? Because it's like Disney with a Villains Land. This is actually, to be fair, this is actually very much a risk for Disney too. You build a Villains Land in Magic Kingdom. Well, now how do you sell people on the upcharge for the Halloween stuff? Because one of the main draws for the Halloween stuff is meeting all the villains and all the villain stuff.
Sure.
Well, you're giving it away for free now all year in Villains Land. Same thing here with Dark Universe. And I'm not saying that it's going to destroy Halloween Horror Nights or anything or completely replace it. All I'm saying is you run a risk at cutting into it. There is a case to be made at some point where, well, we've been to Monsters Land. Do we really need to do Halloween Horror Nights? Kind of the same kind of energy, right? That's a big, for me, a big kind of risk and a big question mark. So I think this land has a lot of potential. I think it could be dope as hell. I think it could be really successful. But I think the theme park nerds are into it for sure. Based on box office, based on kind of general interest of monsters, I don't know if the normies are. And I'm saying I don't know because I really don't know. But your take, Dre.
I would agree with you. The normies probably not going to book a bunch of vacation packages on their own, right? And I think I see a similar strategy with the more adult-oriented areas of the park that I do with the more kid-friendly areas of the park. For example, I think Wizarding World is going to be the thing that people book for, the marketable thing that they can kind of tout and so forth, and that'll bring them down and bring them in. But I think the Universal Monsters area or the Dark Universe area might be the sleeper hit and keep them coming back. That's kind of my theory on it, right? Now look, Night Before Christmas. That didn't do anything at the box office. It died a dog's death there.
It did.
Came a cult classic, and then Disney started to slowly integrate it. Actually, with Haunted Mansion, right? Doing that over for the Halloween and Christmas time, right? And now it's a phenomenon that people sometimes book vacations just to see.
And Waterworld at Universal Hollywood. That movie is like Hollywood, like notoriously one of Hollywood's biggest flops. And that show at Universal Hollywood is a people pleaser. People love that show. It's fantastic. So again, it does come down to execution. So that's why you just don't know sometimes.
And it's going to have the Kuka technology. It's going to be a version 2 of that because we've seen version 1, right? But we haven't seen anything else from that technology, at least by one of these corporate parks. What does that look like in a setting where a lot of these things are physical? That's going to be a very interesting thing, I think, for a lot of theme park enthusiasts and so forth. Fans, I think, are going to love it. APs are going to go there. But the normies, I don't think they're necessarily going to book just for those.
Right.
However, like I said, I think it's going to keep them coming back just because of the quality of execution there. I think they have something that could be, like I said, a sleeper hit of this thing. Wizarding World, though, I think that is going to get them there. As we've seen, actually, a lot of people, I know Warner Bros. Executives are a little bit tentative when it comes to the Wizarding World, right? With the Harry Potter franchise. However, the video game that just came out did huge numbers. Even, when there was some controversy surrounding that, it still did very, very well for that genre of entertainment. Moreover, yes, Fantastic Beasts, right? Didn't necessarily resonate with fans. But I'll contend, though, and my mom actually made this point when I was talking to her about Bob Iger's own comments talking about, the Marvel MCU and franchises, right? She's like, well, wait a minute. That's what happened with Fantastic Beasts. They introduced new characters and nobody liked, and that's why nobody went. And I'm like, that's exactly it, right? These, the characters featured in the Wizarding World section, this Ministry of Magic, will probably feature characters that people know and that people want to see. I'd be sure on that. It was going to be Fantastic Beasts at one point. I believe that has changed from that point. Interesting thing, though, the theater show that was supposed to be part of this actually got cut. Now, what we're hearing is because Ministry of Magic Dark Ride or whatever that's going to be, and I'm not entirely sure what it's going to be, but apparently that grew in scale and so forth, and that kind of ate it up. But I do think it's kind of interesting how much has changed in this section alone.
Yes. Okay. I have thoughts on Wizarding World too. This is funny. Okay. So I think there's definitely issues with just more than Fantastic Beasts when it comes to the Harry Potter franchise. I don't think that Zaslav would be even considering a total look. Pro and it was heavily reported. I think it was Pro who actually broke the scoop, but I think some other outlets also ran that story that Zaslav and Warner Brothers are circling the tires on rebooting.
Yes.
The mainline Harry Potter stories, and we were even surprised when we reached out to Kenna and Ashton, and because I thought, oh my gosh, I thought Harry Potter fans are not going to like this. Is going to be like Disney trying to reboot the original trilogy of Star Wars. We were kind of surprised how like Kenna was like cool with it.
Oh, and Ashton too. They were very enthusiastic about the prospect, and I was like, wow, that's very stunning. I'm surprised that they would have that opinion. It just shows, I think, the lasting power of the franchise, though, and how Zazzy and everybody, I mean, they've been bullish on it. They've been like, oh, we see this as a top tier franchise. We just don't know what to do with it right now, is kind of the question.
But does that, but we had a show with Story Geeks the other day, Jay Shear, who we love. Check out that show all about Mando. We talked about the sequel trilogy and the possibility that they might reboot the sequel trilogy.
Right.
Here's the thing. When a studio is thinking about rebooting something, it's usually not from a place. Well, it's usually not from a place of success necessarily. Like if it was on good ground right now, let me just say they wouldn't be trying to reboot it. That's all I'm trying to say.
You're not wrong. But to be fair, those films I think were viewed by the audience as successful. However, going back to your argument about the Dark Universe and relevancy versus recognizability. People recognize those characters, but are they the most relevant? Which I think that's why Zazzy and everybody else are looking to have a film presence of some kind, whether it be a reboot or a continuation, as we've kind of heard through the trades. They want a film presence somewhere in order to make it relevant again, at least for Warner Brothers' side. Now, for Universal side, remember, they're in a different game here. They capitalize off the films, yes, but through merchandise, through food, through attraction product. Right. And that, I think, in a theme park context, a little bit more evergreen than maybe WB as part of the acquisition just made.
Discovery.
Warner Brothers Discovery, yeah. Sorry, a lot of stuff going on here.
No, there is.
As part of Discovery, like they're looking for returns on this investment, right? So they're looking to capitalize on it. I will agree with you. The Harry Potter franchise isn't in the best place right now, and that even goes beyond the problems with the author, let's say, and the controversy surrounding her. However, I think people in the theme park context are still enthusiastic about this and still want to see what this has to offer. But it's going to be interesting to see if that alone will be the draw here. I think there will be some overlap between the two demographics, between Super Nintendo World and Wizarding World, but these others, big risks for sure.
They are, and we also have to keep in mind this is the third time they're going to the Wizarding World. Well, does it start to lose? Like you can keep going to the well. I mean, look, for example, if Disney built another version of a Star Wars land in DCA, at a certain point you start to you start to lose its sort of like novelty.
True.
So is that kind of a thing here in your opinion, where it's like, well, this is the third time we're going down this road again?
It's true, but that's the interesting thing that what Universal did that Disney didn't. Disney delivered a all-encompassing experience, let's say, not any one place, an entirely new place where these stories and characters could live, right? Universal, on the other hand, gave you actual places. Diagon Alley, for example, Hogsmeade, and now the Ministry of Magic. And I think from Harry Potter fans' perspective, they want to see these places. So I think for them, it's a little bit different than how they see Star Wars. I will say, if they were to give us more Batuu, that wouldn't go over very well. But if they were to give us something like Tatooine or Hoth, would that be judged differently? I think it might be. And to Universal's credit, that's the route they chose, and I think it's working for them in the long run. I mean, they're getting all the blood they can out of that stone. Yeah. And I think they will be successful here. How successful? Big question.
Big question, yeah. Well, and a lot of the success might be out of their control, or success or lack of success might be out of their control. Yeah. We talked pre-show about the economy right now.
That's true.
The banking stuff right now is not looking good. I mean, how long is this? I mean, I say downturn, but it's more than that.
Yeah, I get it.
It's how long does that last? This park's opening in a year and a half.
It is, and that's a real big if. I mean, if what I'm hearing is correct, the economy will have not rebound for several years, and yet this is coming out very, very shortly. I mean, the common refrain is, well, people will save discretionary income enough to be entertained. Well, you can be entertained in lots of ways, not just a premium experience like this.
Right.
Will it actually bring it in? That's a big question, OG, and one that Universal should be considering right now.
Well, and it also plays to the cannibalization thing. When people are short on cash, they're not doing 7 parks. They're not.
They're not going to, dining experiences each night. Maybe they get a snack in the park and they go home and go to I don't know. I mean, if you're on the West Coast, you go to Carl's Jr., right?
Yeah. But shout out to George.
Shout out to George, right? And maybe you don't stay in the most luxurious accommodations. Your spending goes down even when you do visit these places. So it's gonna be a fascinating thing here. When this park was thought up and crafted, they thought, I'm sure that the economic reality would be much different than where we are right now. So it's I think it's going to be absolutely fascinating. Now, OG, you have a hard out from what I do remember.
I do. So let's go ahead and close it up now. Interesting conversation, and the economic stuff is scary, even on the Disney side, because companies really start to cut back. I mean, we've seen way too much cutting back on the Disney side already. So this kind of stuff really not good. So we'll see how it all pans out, but hopefully it's not too bad. We'll see.
Hopefully it is not. It is not. Yeah, I think we had some additional material here. Let's save it for next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can do justice to it. But I'll close out the show here for you, OG. If you guys want to follow me, you can go do so right down there at VashSky. Just go ahead, type that in. It should pop up for, as Christine Waysons McCarthy would say, for all the robust discussion right there. And if you want to see me, well, it's going to be on the channel you're watching right now, Orange Go 55. We have some amazing shows, such as Orange Nerd, with hosted by the person to my left here. Yes, got it right now. Good. Citrus Corner, hosted by George, and Story Geeks with Jay, which goes over all of the stories impacting our lives, including Mandalorian episodes that we just recently covered. Definitely check that out. It looks like it's going to be a show every Friday, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, it'll Thursday or Friday. We're shooting for, depending on schedules. But we're going to try to do one at least once a week for the latest episode.
Well, it looks like you had no choice, fam, but to subscribe, and that way you can be alerted to when those shows actually come out. It's interesting, OG. It's a tumultuous time, but it's an exciting time. I think the theme parks a little bit more exciting, right? I know Universal Creative has had their problems, but hey, they're coming out with parks all around the world at this point, and Disney is looking to get back into that game too, especially with Bruce Vaughan here. So I think it's. Yes, on the entertainment front, let's say, the studio side, not so great. But on the theme park side, at least where we are, I think the future's just a little bit brighter.
I would 100% agree. I want to thank everybody at home for watching. Comment down below with all your thoughts on Epic Universe, that IP mix. Comment on Josh D'Amaro at the Oscars. What the heck does that mean? Comment down below with your thoughts and kind of theories. That Little Mermaid trailer, hey, we're rooting for Halle Bailey, right? We're rooting for Halle, but the movie, I don't know. I wasn't sold on it, but I'm not a live action remake kind of guy, so maybe it's not for me.
Comment down below to see if you want her to be part of your world. Let's say, right?
Exactly. Thank y'all. There you go. Perfect. Thank y'all so much for watching. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day.